or welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a bookshelf scavenger hunt. Basically, I'm going to go through a list of prompts and each prompt is going to lead me to a book and then to another book and so on and so forth until I get to the last prompt. The last book I pick should be from my TBR shelf and then we'll read that book in today's video. That being said, we'll just dive right in, I guess. This might be a little bit of a challenge. Warning you now that all the books I pick may not fit the prompt perfectly just because I don't have a ton of options to choose from, but we'll try our best. The first prompt reads, pick a book that you gave 5 stars and then another book you would recommend to people who like that book. So my most recent 5 stars is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I actually just finished this book like yesterday. This is about women who served as nurses during the Vietnam War. And it kind of just is about their time in Vietnam, but also how they were treated once they returned home to the US. It is so good, so emotional. I was like sobbing the last 15-20 pages. It was so good. I definitely want to read more of Kristen Hanna's books. I have Firefly Lane on my TBR shelf. I plan to read more of her books soon. But if you like this book, then I would recommend The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This is a book that follows 2 boys who are sent to a reform school in the 60s. However, the reform school in this book is based off of a real one that I can't remember the name of, but that school was operational for over 100 years. And this book goes into how the students who attended that school were just, how poorly they were treated. But the book is really good. I think both of these books do a really great job of just showcasing all the research that the authors put into each topic, and they really just make the book feel, or the story feel, that much more real. The next prompt is count the number of letters in the title and then pick a random spot on your shelf and count to that number. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 letters in this title. So we will pick a random spot here and we're gonna go 13 from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is Flowers in the Attic and Petals on the Wind by V.C. Andrews. I have no idea what this book is. These books, I think it's 2 books bound into one. I have no idea what they're about. The only reason I bought this was because Flowers in the Attic is mentioned in The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, and I absolutely love that trilogy, probably one of my favorites. So I went and bought this. It's huge. So the next prompt says, look at what is on the cover and find another book with similar elements on its cover. So we have some dead roses on here. That's pretty much the only thing. So I think I'm gonna try to find something with roses on it, which shouldn't be hard because both the Chestnut Spring series books have a rose on the cover. I think we're gonna go with Heartless because it has more than 1 rose, whereas Flawless only had 1. This is the second book in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. Absolutely love this series. Eat up every single book. Oh my goodness. It is interconnected cowboy romances, and this one in specific follows Cade, who is a single dad, and he hires Willa to be the nanny to his son. I think you can guess where it goes from there. It is so good. Oh my gosh. The next prompt asks me to reverse the page number of the book and find another book with a similar page count. So this book has 410 pages. I don't have a book that's only 41 pages. See, 410 was like the last page of the story, but if we go to the very end of the credits, like the acknowledgements, then 423 is the last page. So if we reverse that, that's 324, which means we have a lot of options because I feel like a lot of books are in that 300 to 400 range. This does not look like it would have over 400 pages in it, but it does. This has 326 pages. I'm gonna set this aside because that's, I think, almost as close as we're gonna get. Yeah, we'll just go with The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I absolutely adore Ashley Poston's books. Well, the 2 that I've read so far. I have A Novel Love Story on my TBR shelf. I really want to read that one so bad. This book is about Clementine, who ends up moving into her late aunt's apartment. Yeah, she ends up moving into her like aunt's apartment, and there's a man there randomly, and she soon realizes that the apartment actually travels through time and took her 7 years to the past when this man was renting the apartment from her aunt. And yeah, that's just all you need to know going into this book. It is so adorable and so sweet. I think that all of Ashley Poston's books just feel so cozy. So the next prompt, list some of the tropes of the book and find another book that shares one or more of these tropes. The biggest trope in this book is forced proximity, which I think we should be able to find pretty easily a book of the same trope. I know Flawless for sure is forced proximity. Book Lovers, kind of forced proximity. Ooh, Happy Place is also kind of... No, Funny Story is! There were so many options for this one, but I'm gonna go with Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is her most recent release, came out in April of this year. This story follows Miles and Daphne, whose significant others break up with them for each other, if that makes sense. Miles and Daphne end up moving in together. Very much forced proximity. I absolutely love this book. I think Miles is one of my favorite book boyfriends out of all of Emily Henry's book boyfriends. Emily Henry writes some of the best summer romances. Like, I cannot express that enough. I absolutely love this book. The next prompt is to find a book that has the same color combination as your current book. This is a very, what's in between blue and purple? Is it like indigo? I think this is indigo with, the lemons always stick out to me on the side, so maybe like indigo and yellow we can try to find. Literally right away made me think of A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. Not to bring her up again, but are you telling me these colors aren't like almost a perfect match? I think A Novel Love Story is about a girl who gets lost on her way to somewhere, and she ends up going into her favorite book's town, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm explaining that very well. She ends up in the town from her favorite book. Depending on what type of reader you are, it's either your like absolute dream or your absolute nightmare. I think that fits the prompt best, so we're gonna go with it. The next prompt says to read the first sentence, pick any word in that sentence, and find a book with that word in the title or on the cover. So the very first sentence says, there once was a town. Once and town are the only word that I think I could use, and yet I can't find a single book that has any of those words. Town, I guess I could see if I could find a book with a town on the cover. And in the French, it has a city on the cover. It has France, Paris on the cover. Does that count? Yeah, we'll go with Anna and the French Kiss. Even though Paris is not a town by any means, it is definitely a city. I think it kind of works. I don't make the rules, but I'm gonna break them anyways. This is probably one of my most favorite books ever, purely because I think the nostalgia. But this is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. It is about Anna, who is sent to an American boarding school in Paris. And yeah, it's just about her kind of, it's a coming of age story, but her kind of finding her way in Paris all by herself without her family. It's so good. I will say, if you don't like the cheating trope, do not read this book because you will hate it. And normally I don't like the cheating trope, but something about the nostalgia of this book from when I first read it sticks with me. I adore this book. I think I've reread this 4 or 5 times at least. Anyways, next prompt, we have go to the acknowledgements and find a book written by an author with the same name as one of the names listed. In the acknowledgements, the first name I see is Paula, Kate, Julie, Lisa, Lauren. There's a Lauren in here. I have a Lauren author. We'll go with Lauren. And I have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is a romantasy. This book follows Peyton, who is an ordinary in a world full of elites, which means that she is powerless in a world full of people who have powers. And in this world, people who are powerless are not supposed to be alive. So she has to hide in plain sight and pretend she has a power. And one day she gets called to participate in something called the Purging Trials. Yeah, that's what this book is about. I liked this book. I didn't love it, and I think that's mostly because I had such a hard time getting into the world of this book. I just don't think the world building was as good as it could have been, and I think that's just because I didn't know what the Purging Trials were. I did not understand their significance for a majority of the book. Like, I didn't even know what they were or what was going to happen during these trials until they were in the trials. So I really wish we would have gotten a little bit more background on that earlier in the book. It was still really solid. I think the banter between the love interests was so good. That is pretty much the majority of all these tabs that I have. Not really great for me, but really great for other people, especially if you like romantasy. So the next prompt is add your birth month and date together, turn to that page, read the first sentence, pick a word, and find a book with that word in the title. My birth month and day would be November 13th, which is 24. So page 24. It's the beginning of a chapter. Nice. Awesome. The first sentence, the wheel of a merchant's cart rolls over my toes. Also, since it's the last prompt, like I said, I have to find something off my TBR shelves. So hopefully we do. Wheel, merchant, cart, roll, toes, over? This is a little bit of a stretch, but thanks to my boyfriend for this idea. I think I'm gonna bend the rules. I'm gonna make a stretch to the Song of Achilles because toes, foot, Achilles, like Achilles heel. I think we're just gonna go with it because I don't want to search anymore. It's getting kind of late and dark. So the book that we're gonna be reading in today's video is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I don't know what it's about. I think it's Achilles and a friend growing up. I don't know. I know so many people love this book though, and it is on this month's TBR, which is really kind of perfect. I'm not really big on Greek mythology. I don't really know much Greek mythology, so this will be interesting. But I have high hopes going into it. I thought I would give you an update, I guess. I'm only like 50 pages in. I'm at the beginning of chapter 7. I guess this is like my first impressions, but first I'll tell you what it's about if you haven't read it before. This story follows Patroclus and Achilles. Patroclus is the son of a king. However, after an incident that I don't want to get into too much detail about because it could be considered a spoiler, but after an incident, he ends up exiled at just 10 years old. When he's sent into exile, he's actually sent to another kingdom to be not raised by, but like kind of like fostered by the king of another kingdom. And he's sent to Peleus's kingdom, who Peleus is Achilles' father. So Achilles is the prince. So that is where Patroclus is. He's kind of being taught how to be a soldier until one day he and Achilles kind of form a friendship, and then from then on Achilles kind of takes him in as his companion. I think the exact word was therapon, which means like brothers in arm. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I'm enjoying it, I guess. I'm just a little confused right now. I just don't think I'm very well versed in Greek mythology, so it's taking me a second to get into it, but I think the writing is so beautiful so far. Like, I have so many underlines in here already from quotes that I think are just so well written and so lyrical. But yeah, I'm kind of waiting for events to pick up a little bit. But yeah, that is my update for now. I'm gonna charge my camera and keep reading. Okay, I'm back not much later, but I am 100 pages in now. I'm at the beginning of chapter 11. This always happens where I like say something and then the very next clip I have to go back on what I just said because the book proves me wrong. But yeah, I was waiting for it to pick up and then it definitely started to pick up like right when I turned off the camera. Now I'm like at this point where I'm really struggling because I don't know anything about Greek mythology. I don't know anything about Achilles. So like I really want to like look up a YouTube video that explains Achilles' story in Greek mythology, and I'm like, no, would that spoil the rest of the book for me? Because I know a lot of people who are into Greek mythology read this book and still really loved it even though they knew what was gonna happen, maybe. I don't know what's gonna happen, so obviously I'm like not sure if that's the case. It's like a constant battle. Every time I finish a chapter, I'm like, dang, I really just want to type into the search bar looking for answers. I don't want to spoil it for myself. And like, will it make it not as impactful or what, like whatever happens at the end? Because I know something huge happens at the end and everyone cries about it. I don't know what it is, So if I look up what happens to Achilles, like if I look up the Greek mythology, will I ruin it for myself? This is like one of those moments where I would like really wish sharing a video on YouTube would happen like real time so I could get people's feedback, either being like, oh yeah, no, you'd be fine if you looked it up, or don't look it up, because I need someone to help me decide. Oh my gosh. Anyways, but yeah, I'm so nervous too, because we just got to the point where like both Achilles and Patroclus are at a point where they're like happy, and I don't want it to go wrong, but I know it's gonna, like, I already know based off how this chapter ended that like the plot is gonna pick up even more and some tough conflicts are gonna be arising. I guess that's my update for now though. I'm just so conflicted. I probably won't look it up just so I don't feel guilty later on and feel like I spoiled it for myself. Alright, I am a little over 200 pages in. I just finished chapter 18, which, what the heck was that? If you've read it. I'm at a really weird point right now because like, I know that where I just stopped is the calm before, I can't even call it calm before the storm, but basically like the biggest part of the plot is coming up. I'm so nervous. I already feel like so sad going into the rest of this book because they kind of, it's not like a spoiler, but like we get told this prophecy about what's gonna happen to Achilles. And so now I'm like going into the rest of this book knowing, like not knowing, but everyone seems so certain that this prophecy is gonna come true, and it's just making me so nervous about what I'm gonna read. And I just already feel so sad for both Patroclus and Achilles because they're so cute together. And now they have to deal with this, really? I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I know it's not gonna be okay. So now I'm like, I don't wanna read further because I don't wanna be sad, but I wanna read to see what happens. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I don't know where I'm sitting at for a rating right now. I think part of the issue is I went into this, for some reason I thought this was a young adult book, and it might be still considered a young adult book, but some of the stuff that happens in here is not what I would consider young adult friendly. I went into this book expecting something different, and some of the stuff I'm reading, I'm just like, I would have liked some warning. Other than that though, I do think the writing is really beautiful. I don't know, it's hard because there's like action happening, but it still feels like we're progressing very slowly to get to the point. I'm over 50% of the way through this book, and we're just now getting to the last paragraph of like this summary thing on the back. I don't know. I think it's in like the 4-star range, leaning closer to like a 3.5 maybe. But I just know that this last part of the book is gonna emotionally wreck me, and I don't think I'm ready for that. I finished this book. What the heck? That ending made me so angry and so frustrated. Everyone's like, oh, you're gonna cry at the end. Yeah, tears of frustration. It's a good book, don't get me wrong, okay? It's really good. The writing is beautiful. I am so impressed with the way that the author was able to like evoke so much emotion in me. Like, I don't think I've ever been angrier at a character in my whole life. Definitely really good. I just don't think I loved it as much as other people have. And I think that's solely because I had such a hard time connecting. And I don't know if that's just because I'm not really into Greek mythology. Like, I'm sure if you are, then you'd really love this. And I'm sure even if you aren't, you would really love this. I just think I had a hard time connecting with it. Mostly because I don't really love war stories, and the last half of the book is a war story, and it's based off a war story, which I didn't know. I guess I should have known. I apologize to my 9th grade English teacher who taught me about the Iliad and the Odyssey. I apologize that I did not remember anything that you taught us, but if I had remembered, then I'm sure I wouldn't have felt so clueless. And I think that was one of my bigger issues. I don't know, I just think I didn't connect, but it's still such a good book, and I think the writing is so beautiful. Like, I would definitely give this, right now I'm sitting at a 4 stars. I have a strong feeling that I'm gonna be thinking about this book as I move on to different books. You know what I mean? Like the characters in this book and like just some of the things that happen at the end will definitely be things that I think about from here on out. I feel like that could push it to a 4.5 maybe. I don't know, I'm really struggling on the rating, but one thing that I think is gonna stick with me the most from this book is kind of this discussion about how important a legacy is to a person and what it will force them to do. I think legacy is something that almost every human strives for. Like everyone is concerned about who will remember them when they're gone, what their name will mean once they're no longer living, which is so dark. This just adds another layer of understanding to me on how much like someone's legacy means to them, especially like I think you can see that with Achilles in this book for sure. Is like his legacy, his fame is so important to him that it blinds him, and that's just so, I don't want to say like moving, but it's like it's something that just really I'm so interested in. And so that's what I took away the most from this book, which I really liked. Literally I have annotations in here that are just me questioning what legacy means and stuff. Like you can see me writing all up in there. That's where I kind of landed with this book. I don't know if any of that made sense. I should have sat down and wrote out my thoughts so I can kind of formulate them into something that made sense, but you just get my incoherent ramblings for now. I don't know. All I can say is that Patroclus is a better person than I am. He is so forgiving, and that is something I think I struggle with. Like in real life, I would say I'm pretty forgiving. Like I'll get over things pretty fast, but man, when it comes to book characters, I will hold a grudge forever. So I think that was like why I was so frustrated at the end, is because I was holding a grudge over a character and the main character has already forgiven them at that point. So it's like, I'm over here being like, no! And the main character's being so nice. So that was my experience reading the Song of Achilles. I honestly didn't think I was gonna get to it this month because it was really daunting to me, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad the bookshelf scavenger hunt kind of forced me to. If you've read the Song of Achilles, which I'm sure many of you have, let me know in the comments how you felt at the end. Were you sad or were you frustrated? I think that's my question, because I think I was more frustrated than sad, and I feel like that's maybe not as common among readers of this book. So let me know how you felt by the end of this book. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.